Welcome to this special coverage of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's visit to Brussels, where he takes part in the 6th round of the EU-Africa Summit, which is held on Thursday at the EU headquarters. The President had met today with Ursula von der Leyen, the EU Commission chief, at the European Union headquarters in Brussels. Right now, we're joined over the phone to tell us more about the importance and significance of this visit by Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, an economic expert. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you, my pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Nile TV.
Sure.
Can you tell us a bit about the importance of such a visit to Belgium? I know this is the first of its kind for President el-Sisi there.
I like what President is doing. He is always there.
Yes.
He likes to be present. And the presence of Egypt is important. First of all, the fact that Egypt is invited to such gatherings and such summits means Egypt is important, it has its weight, and everybody looks at Egypt as a country that plays a role either on the regional side or on the continental side as far as Africa is concerned. So I love that President Sisi is always there.
Yes.
And this time he is, besides, of course, his meetings with his counterparts and the King of Belgium, etc., to enhance the bilateral relations.
Yes.
He is going to attend the summit between Europe and Africa. And I think that although this is the 6th edition of the summit, but in my humble opinion, I think this is very important.
Yes.
Because, again, this is my personal feeling, I have a feeling that Europe has sensed the intense presence of China in the African continent. And this might represent a very strong competition to the European in our black continent. That is why Europe wants to sit with Africa, wants to put a program for the coming years, how to enhance the relations, how to strengthen the ties and increase the cooperation and investments in Africa, so that they benefit and compete with China, who is coming in with very, very strong force into Africa.
So, sir, what kind of economic cooperation should we expect from this visit? I mean, we've seen the President meet with a number of CEOs and heads of businesses, specifically when it comes to green energy and defense. Is this something that will be the focus of this visit?
Absolutely. I mean, as far as Egypt is concerned, I mean, our President spares no effort in contacting his counterparts and in improving the relations with everybody for the benefit of Egypt, of course. And particularly with Europe. Europe has their technology, their know-how, their financial capabilities that can help increasing their cooperation, increasing the joint venture projects, increasing the investments in Egypt along the lines, as you mentioned, the green economy, clean energy, etc., etc. So this, I'm sure, that they will represent a very important part of the visit of our president. But as far as Africa is concerned, on a global outlook, Egypt is very keen that Europe gives more help and gives more aid to Africa in general. I mean, we have seen that during the unfortunate times of the COVID, which are still there, the participation of Europe was not very big. It has to change, not only during this time, but again, as I said, it's a win-win situation.
Yes.
If Europe comes in, I'm sure they will benefit, and the African countries will benefit as well. So he will, I am sure, talk about these subjects, particularly that the location, that the geographic location of Egypt is very important, being the door from Africa to Europe and from Europe to Africa, as far as trade is concerned, etc., etc. So I am sure that this visit will result into very important things, inshallah.
Yes, the President had earlier today met with the EU Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen. Why is this visit significant for Egypt and not just focus on, the Belgian side with the King and the Prime Minister there?
Yeah, first of all, the fact that the EU is the headquarters of the EU is in Brussels, so he had to take this advantage and meet the responsible people and talk to the European community represented by their. So, I mean, it is important. We are doing a lot of talks and negotiations with European countries, with each and every one. But the fact that he sits with the European community as a whole, he can discuss more global problems. He can get or sort of agree generally on the views of the president, particularly regarding the regional issues. I'm talking Libya.
Yes.
Libya, again, needs all the help it can get, all the push it can get, and need everybody to join hands to reach or to follow the route map foreseen for Libya. And of course, Europe is a very important player in the Libyan crisis. So the idea of discussing and agreeing on what to do in Libya in the coming near future is very important. And I think this will be discussed in depth with the leaders of the EU.
Okay, Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, an economic expert, thank you so much for joining us over the phone and shedding more light on the subject and the importance and significance of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's visit. President al-Sisi met on Thursday Ursula von der Leyen, the EU Commission chief, at the European Union headquarters in the Belgian capital, Brussels. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassem Radi said the EU Commission chief welcomed President al-Sisi at the headquarters of the European Union and expressed her keenness to maintain regular communications in light of Egypt's strategic role in the European Union. The chief stressed the Union's desire to continue to advance cooperation with Egypt at the various levels. The two-day summit will be held under the title Africa and Europe, Two Continents, with joint visions for 2030. The first round of the summit was held in Cairo in the year 2000 and witnessed founding mechanisms for participation in accordance with the Cairo Plan. Radi said President al-Sisi will discuss Africa's economic integration into a global economy and the need for providing support to the continent to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. The President is scheduled to probe a joint vision to support the African continent during the coronavirus pandemic and facilitating the fair distribution and accessibility of all technologies related to the pandemic and vaccine production. The head of state's visit will also include talks with King Philippe and the Prime Minister Leopold, which will tackle bilateral ties and regional and international issues of mutual concern. And welcome back. We're joined over the phone right now by Dr. Hassan Wagih, a professor of political science. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you too.
Thank you so much for joining us over the phone. And
welcome.
Can you tell us a bit about the significance of this visit by President Sisi to Belgium, specifically meeting with the EU chief?
Actually, the significance is very important because it tells about the strategic orientation of Egypt since the 90s, when Barcelona process started out with its three levels. And since President Fattah al-Sisi assumed power, he gave very good attention to the establishing the identification ground with Europeans, because the cooperation between the European Union and Egypt is of a particular importance to Egypt, and it is very important to have it on a larger scale to be with African Union and European Union. So this would tend to create the stability in the area, in Europe and in the Middle East as well, and all over the world. And if you can see the agenda for discussion in this conference, it's a very great and very important forum where financing and investment, ambitious investment packages are being discussed. Health systems and vaccine production, when it comes also to the acts of agriculture and sustainable development. What is very important, education, culture, and the training, also migration and mobility. You are talking about the importance, the very critical importance of the private sector and economic integration, peace, security, and governance.
The summit itself, this round, the sixth round, is entitled EU-Africa Summit, and its focus is on integration of the vision between the African continent and Europe when it comes to 2030. How do you see the alignment between the vision between Europe and Africa?
Actually, when you are talking about the economic growth of every country and the growth of all these entities, you are talking about internationalization process. You have to be part of the international economy and contribute in that and get benefit out of that. So when you have this European Union and African Union together, they have a very important thing to be launched, which is a strategy for the coming decade till 2030. So I think that there were so many good processes that we have not to forget, and how it was developed, and especially the role of Egypt is very pivotal in that. And also you can see Egypt and European Union. The president went to several of these conferences, many conferences like that, and established a special relationship with the European Union, which serves the entire African Union.
How do you see the cooperation between the EU and African countries, especially since the big topic right now is green energy and how the world is heading towards green energy?
In addition to the big agenda that I've told you about, yes, you have the climate change and clean energy transition, along with digitalization and the connectivity when it comes to all of these. So I think transforming the entire world for this is a very important step, and Egypt is taking very decisive steps, and the president will head this COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in November, inshallah, God willing. And I think Egypt is doing all its best because it is hosting a big international gathering in Sharm el-Sheikh very soon after several months.
The president had also, during his visit to Belgium, met with several people, including obviously the King, the Prime Minister and the EU Commission, but he also met with CEOs and heads of businesses there to discuss various cooperation opportunities. What kind of cooperation opportunities could we see in the future with Belgium?
Yes, I think Egypt and the president is very keen to use all the opportunities and to open up opportunities for direct investment in the country. And I think that the gathering with the business people in Belgium, meeting the King of Belgium and the Prime Minister of Belgium, all poured down to the importance of having this investment coming and going between the two countries.
Okay, Dr. Hassan Wagih, a professor of political science, thank you so much for joining us over the phone. That's a special coverage of the visit to the EU, and that's the president taking part in the 6th summit of the European African Summit, where the title and theme for the day, or for the summit rather, was the integration between the European Union and the African continent on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The president is scheduled to probe joint visions to support the African continent during the coronavirus pandemic, as well as facilitating the fair distribution and accessibility of technologies related to pandemic and the vaccine production. The head of state had met with King Philippe and the Prime Minister, as well as the EU Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen. They tackled several issues of mutual concern, specifically issues of illegal immigration, extremism, terrorism, obviously energy as well, where they discussed the importance and significance of green energy and how they can further improve economic ties binding the two nations together, or rather the two continents together when it comes to this aspect. The presidential spokesperson, Ambassador Bassem Radi, had spoke about the Commission, said that the EU Commission chief welcomed the president at the headquarters today of the European Union and expressed keenness to maintain a regular communication in light of Egypt being an important strategic partner of the European Union. The chief had stressed that the Union's desire to continue to advance cooperation with Egypt at various levels. And President Sisi expressed appreciation for the Egyptian-European relations, stressing the interest in developing them and deepening the traditional partnership between Egypt and the European Union. Earlier yesterday, the president had met with King Louis Philippe of Belgium at the Royal Palace in Brussels. And during this meeting, the president praised the bilateral ties between both countries. The president also said that Egypt was looking forward to boosting these relations, especially on the economic level. And the president had also met with a number of businessmen, CEOs and so forth to discuss possible cooperation between the two nations.